You're listening to Arise, the podcast that teaches you how to live your life with purpose and confidence. I'm your host, Donna Cherie. Let's get into today's show. Arise. What's up, overcomers? Welcome back to another episode of Arise. It's your host, Donna Cherie, and I'm so excited to have you with me today. If you're here for the first time, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and share this episode with someone that you know. Today, we're doing a rewind episode with Tabitha Azor. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist based in Brooklyn. And today we're talking about self-sabotage, because self-sabotage is something that has affected many of us. And this behavior is so detrimental to our dreams, our goals, to pursuing our God-given calling, and to stepping into the businesses that God has for us. So today I just wanted to rewind this episode, and I know for sure that you'll gain something out of it. During this conversation, we'll explore what self-sabotage is, why we do it, and how we can overcome it. Let's get into today's show. You're listening to Arise. Thanks for listening, and Tabitha, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Tabitha Azor, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I work in the New York area, and I work with individuals, couples on just mostly women, and then couples on relationship issues or anything else that they may come in.
Okay, awesome. And what made you want to become a licensed marriage and family therapist?
Honestly, I never saw myself as a marriage and family therapist. I didn't even know that was a thing around the time that I was going to college. But through prayer, God just led me to just major in psychology and then just continuing to follow his steps. He just told me to enroll in the marriage and family program at NIAC. And as I did that, then I discovered that this is really what I was created to do. And it's a long process. Um, but that's how I found out that this is what I was supposed to do. And yeah, that's where my passion is currently.
As far as, being in this field, what are some of why do you feel that this is an important area for people to be able to not, individuals as well as couples, be able to, in a sense, get it right in this area of your expertise? Why is that important?
Well, especially like thinking about life and somebody from a child up all the way to an adult, we have experiences that impact us in various ways. We have things that we go through, negative experiences, positive experiences, but at the end of the day, all of those experiences cause us to become who we are. And sometimes some of us are not as fortunate as others to have had great parents that instill, good things in us and love us the way that we need to be loved. And and some of us end up with some trauma and some challenges and things that we need to overcome. And I think it's important. Therapy is extremely important because it is a space where you can come in and the focus is on you, and you can begin to unravel some of these negative messages or narratives that were pretty much instilled in you that may be causing you to react in a certain way today or to be a certain way today. And in therapy, I'm able to help people just discover their true selves and really find out, okay, these are the narratives and the things that were instilled in me. This is not who I am. Then we find out together who they are, so that they can become healthy. Things like anxiety and depression are suicidal thoughts, and all of those things, they are plaguing society right now. And I find that it's important to just face them, especially like in the African American society, that we need to face these things. We need to face the things that pretty much are coming up for us so that we can be healthy and then create a healthier next generation.
Definitely. And along those lines too, what you said, like now there is this, well, with mental health, there has been a greater awareness about it, even just during the pandemic. And it's not just a trend, like it's a real thing and it's
Right.
affecting lots of people. And one of those things too within that is can be self-sabotage, just
Right.
people in this cycle or in this behavior of self-sabotaging. So maybe you have seen some patients who have shown signs of self-sabotaging. What does that actually mean to
Yeah,
self-sabotage?
self-sabotaging is when something good is about to happen in your life, or when you're about to kind of like get a breakthrough, or when you're doing well in something, to completely just engage in certain behaviors that kind of like ruin it for you. For example, you're working really hard at work, you're about to get a promotion, your boss is giving you good reviews, and you decide subconsciously, right? It's not something that happens on a conscious level that you decide, hey, like I'm going to ruin this for myself. You just engage in certain behaviors that just ruin and what the good thing that's about to happen in your life. And that's pretty much what it is. And you can see it in all areas of your life.
So what causes self-sabotaging behavior, and can it be trauma related?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be trauma related, but it I think also has to do with what the kind of parenting that you had, the way that your parents raised you and the beliefs that they instill in you. So if you have a neglecting parent that teaches you that, oh, I'm not important enough. So when we neglect our children, they don't register it as, oh, mom is a really like she shouldn't be ignoring me right now, or she shouldn't be neglecting me right now, and she's a bad parent. When the child is not thinking mom is a bad parent, because the parent is usually glorified in the child's mind, unless there have been like extreme, like bad circumstances between the child and the parent. But the child registered, I must not be good, or I must not be worthy, or I must not be worthy of good things, worthy of love. And the moment that that belief is solidified through the parents' behavior, then you get adults that pretty much are thinking the same thoughts. Like it's the child inside of them still thinking, I must not be good enough. I must not be worthy of love, worthy of good things, so that they don't these adults don't know how to then receive. They don't have the capacity for the good. So when the good is about to come, the first thing that they have to do is protect themselves from the good, because the good is not familiar.
Mm.
Automatically, they sabotage themselves so that they can stay in a place that is comfortable for them altogether.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because when we do have these negative experiences or things that seem normal, but they're really not, such as self-sabotaging or just think having these negative thoughts of we're not good enough and we're not worthy, that we do stay in that a comfortable place, but it really is a bad place that we shouldn't be in. And so how can people move from that place of those negative beliefs and being able to kind of transform their mindset to and get out of this place of self-sabotaging?
Yeah, it is not easy, right? It can be a very long process, because what you're doing when you're trying to retrain your thoughts is uprooting and removing all of the negative things, all of the beliefs and thoughts that you have that were instilled in you by a caretaker or by even yourself, right? Because the parents may start it, but we continue it and we repeat it to ourselves over and over again, so that our minds solidify it as true and as, a fact for us. And those beliefs take time. So we have to first kind of like uproot them and And you can't uproot something that you cannot identify. So, beginning to identify what are the things that I believe about myself? What are the things that were instilled in me by experiences, by my parents, by the things that happened to me? What are those beliefs? And really actually taking out a piece of paper and writing those things down and identifying them. They can be really hard to notice, but if we can be honest with ourselves and identify them, I think that's the first step. And that's really what's gonna lead us to then know what it is that we need to change. And then after we identify them, we find what's the opposite. So if you believe you're not worth having a promotion, or good things are not gonna last for you, or it's not gonna come through, even if it's on the verge of happening, something's gonna happen to ruin it, or something like that. All of those beliefs, you find the opposite of them. I am worthy of love. I am worthy, of this promotion. I can ask for what I need in my relationship, and people should be treating me the right way. I'm not the only one who can take care of people. I can be taken care of too. So whatever the opposite of what it is that your belief is, you just write it down right next to it. And then you begin to rehearse it over and over again. That in those moments when the thought comes up, that you're not worthy, then you begin to rehearse the opposite, and you tell yourself, no, you are worthy. You are worthy of all of these things, of these great things. And then the second thing is to identify those behaviors that do come with self-sabotaging, those things that you do that, like, there was this example of this person. He pretty much was about to just do really well. And when he would start doing well, he would just stop whatever it is that he was doing. And so in those moments, when you recognize what behavior is the self-sabotaging behavior, then you can change it, and you can allow yourself to just create something that is different, do something that is different, overall, so that you can begin to act differently after you've been working on the thoughts.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is that, which was a really good point, that first you need to, because you can't change anything unless you identify it. And I think sometimes too that like what you mentioned about writing something down, people might think that that is so, like, it's too simplistic, and they might think it should be something more elevated than that, but really that's where it starts and what it takes.
And
So go ahead.
and writing things down just removes it from you, because your brain cannot organize things in the way that you can do on paper, because your thoughts are floating, they're going, and they move really, really quickly. When we write something down, we solidify it, and we're able to see it in a way that we would never be able to in our minds. So that's why journaling helps, because it allows you to take the whole, like, mess and unorganized thoughts in your mind and put it down. And when you write it down, it becomes real. When you write something down, so when we write something down, we make it almost like a reality, that we can see it for what it is. And the brain sometimes works with feelings, right? And tells us, this is how this feels, so this is how it must be. And when you write something down, you can see, like, how sometimes ridiculous the thought is that you're having, and you can see it for what it actually is. So writing it down is absolutely and extremely important.
And when you say rehearse it, so once you replace that limiting belief, or yeah, that limiting belief, and you replace it with something else that is true, rehearse it, that means speaking it out loud, or should they be doing it every day? What does that consistency look like?
Yeah, rehearsing it does require out loud. So the eyes are the window to the soul. once you kind of like, and I would say rehearse it in front of a mirror, because you're speaking directly to that part of yourself, your mind, your will, your intellect. So your feelings, your emotions, you speaking directly to that part of yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror and speak something out loud to yourself. So if the belief is, I don't deserve to be loved, you say to yourself the opposite, I deserve to be loved. And you look at yourself directly in the mirror and say that to yourself. What that does, in our brain, there's something called a neuroplasticity. Our brains are constantly making new connections. And when we rehearse something, we're telling the brain, this is the new fact. This is new. And those, if there's less connections with those neurons that we're saying, hey, like we're not deserving of love, the more we rehearse it in front of the mirror and telling the brain, hey, like I am deserving of love. New connections are being made in the brain and internally in the brain. Those connections are being made and are causing us to pretty much change the belief around the thing that we need to believe in differently. So it's important that we are intentional about it, that we, if we can start with every other day, then start there. If it's once a week that's doable for you, then start there. But it's important that you start somewhere and then build a consistency and then increase it as you go.
That's powerful. And it makes me think about, too, just the word of God, how we can apply that if we're dealing with something such as self sabotage or other areas in our life of, if we start to rehearse those things of what's in the word of God and speak those back to ourselves, how life transforming it can be.
Right.
Yeah. What are some other ways in which people can develop a self-awareness of, like, if they're in the act of self-sabotaging, or if they're going to that promotion, and then how can someone come to be more self-aware if they're doing this?
Yeah. So you would notice that in your life, you would get to a point where something's good about to happen, and then you get anxious, and automatically you remove yourself from that. You either quit or stop doing what it is that was on the verge of being successful. So you would have a lot of instances where you almost succeed in things, and then you do something or find an excuse to pretty much remove yourself from that. So kind of like think back to your life. Think about what other people have said about you, or the patterns that they have noticed in you. If you have people, and sometimes we can't see ourselves, and if we have people that are close to us, they can see us better than we can see ourselves, especially if they are close enough that we disclose certain things to them. So go to your community and to the people that are around and just ask them, what do you notice about me? How would you say that I'm a person that self-sabotages? And then the other thing is behaviors. Like what are the things that you notice that you do? You start working out and then you start seeing results, and then you quit. Do you quit on a lot of things? Not only when they're not going good, but also when they are going good, and there could be progress and success in that. So I would say these are the areas to look at. Usually if you look to the past and your patterns, you should be able to identify, if this is a behavior that you know suit.
Mhm. And then what are some of the benefits if someone can overcome this area of their life, in your opinion?
Success, the ability to move forward. And we have to remember that our success is not just for us. When we succeed is, so that we can help and empower and equip others and contribute to society. So we're not just doing it for ourselves. So when we remove self-sabotaging, and imposter syndrome goes right with that, right? Because when we start feeling like an imposter, we start feeling like, man, I don't deserve this, or people are gonna find out. That's when the self-sabotaging happen. But once we can remove the imposter syndrome, change and shift our minds, then we can begin to see success in the areas of our lives that maybe we've never been able to move forward in. We can be free from relationships that we've been dragging along that are not serving us. We can be fully ourselves and believe in ourselves in the way that we deserve to. We can then begin to get the things that we are worthy of, the things that we truly deserve to get from society, from the world. We can begin to then choose the right relationships for ourselves because we're not pretty much keeping ourselves in a situation that is comfortable and not going for what it is that we really deserve. And that includes romantic relationships, friendships, relationship with work and all of that stuff.
And who wouldn't want that? Wouldn't want to be in those places rather than this continuous cycle of just self-sabotaging and living where you don't want to be? So,
Yeah.
there's something else too that you do along with which ties into being a therapist. You have healing worship nights. So talk to us a little bit more about what that looks like.
Well, healing nights are just worship and therapy. So I am a Christian and I do include that, for the clients who welcome it into my practice. But healing nights are a mixture of worship and therapy. I'm all about healing. I'm all about just finding what it is that we need to heal from and then just pursuing that, going on that journey. And I go on that journey with a lot of people, especially my clients. And healing nights allow me to kind of like bring in worship and the presence of God, where they happen once a month, where we do worship and then we get real. We have conversations about mental health issues. We have conversations about, things that people are facing on a day to day that I find that are not being spoken about in the church. And the church is very like pray things away. Most churches, right? Some of them are really opening up and talking about mental health, but those conversations don't happen in certain churches. And it's all about pray things away, all is well in the name of Jesus, all of that. And we need to get real that mental health issues plague the church. And because we're not addressing them, then people leave the church with a lot of church hurt. They leave the church just in more pain than they came in because church is filled with people who are not healed. And I believe I'm called to just create healing, just facilitate healing in the church. And that's why healing nights exist, so that people can come in, yes, be in the presence of God and there's healing there in itself, but also be in a place where we talk and we talk about those things and we answer your questions. We just get real about what it is that we're dealing with, because if we don't identify it, we can't heal from it. And it's time that we stop being quiet about what it is that we're going through and come in a community where, whatever it is that we're dealing with is okay. And God can heal us, yes, but therapy is also a tool that he can use to heal us. So that's what healing nights are.
That's beautiful. That is. How have people been receptive to that since you've started doing this?
This is very new. The first one was really last month. The next one is May 19th. It's coming up, but it's been awesome. The last one that we did was on anxiety, and we got a lot of positive feedback on that. The worship time was amazing, and and I did a live therapy session in there, and we just got real about anxiety and how it impacts us. So the next one is on fear. We're gonna just uproot fear from people's hearts. And yeah, so there's a topic each month, and it's been amazing. And I'm looking forward to it's gonna happen like monthly until the end of the year. So it's gonna be great.
Okay. And how can people find out more about that or even your services if they live in your area?
Yeah, nychealingcenter.com. My business name is NYC Healing Center, and we are located in New York. So if you go on the website, you should be able to find more information. And to register for healing nights, you can go to Eventbrite and just type healing nights, and you should be able to find it there as well.
Okay. And then I'd like to ask you one more question as it relates to therapy, because I do feel like there's a stigma around that as well. And people have this, I don't know if it's a fear or what you call it, of like that they don't need it or don't want to go. But well, what would you say to somebody who's on the fence about therapy? They're in this place, they're thinking they should go, but maybe they've had some background noise that, no, this isn't going to help. What would you say to that person?
Therapy, it's you cannot heal from something that you don't zoom in on. And therapy allows you that space to do that. It is a non-judgmental space where you come in and it's about you, about what it is that you bring in. It is very uncomfortable, and I have to be extremely real and say that it is uncomfortable, because if you're comfortable in your therapy, it means you're not growing, you're not making progress. Your therapist's job is to pretty much just highlight for you the things that pretty much need to be worked on so that you can grow and so that you can heal from the things that, you know, have been an issue for you. So it helps you identify what it is that you need to work on. And then your therapist goes on this little journey with you, and you figure out together how to pretty much heal. I tell people all the time, this happens at your own pace. It doesn't have to be like a rushed process. And we're very sensitive to what you bring in. And I'm a cheerleader, I'm a coach sometimes. I'm like a kind of like person that challenges you. I'm accountability. And I'm all of that. And I hold your feelings with you. I'm right there in this process with you because you need that person. And if you grew up and you didn't have that, you need somebody who's going to model that for you. If you didn't have the right parent, you need a person that's going to model what good parenting is like for you. And so many times my work is reparenting people because they had a parent that was abusive, or they have somebody who pretty much didn't treat them right in a relationship, and I have to teach them, this is what you deserve, this is what's right. So we go back to the child self and we reparent that little kid together. And that cannot happen on your own. Like, you can't do that on your own. And it's scary at first, but the moment that you become comfortable and you see the impact of healing and setting boundaries and all of that, then you never pretty much go back, because you become addicted to the healthy version of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, for the person who might be listening to this episode today, if you are on the fence of about getting therapy, or you feel that this is something you need because you want to address issues in your life, go for it. You have nothing to lose. And just as Tabitha just mentioned, just all the things, you can become a healthier version for you, not necessarily for your parents or what they did or didn't do or whoever else, but it's for you. And so how you can better show up in the world and and live healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, and all of that good stuff. So go for it. All right. So thank you so much, Tabitha, for coming on the show today. And I'll be sure to drop the information for people to connect with you.
Thank you so much for.
Until next time, guys. Ciao. Hey, Overcomers. Thanks for tuning in. For more information, head on over to donnacherie.com. If you want to find me online, I'm at I am Donna Cherie on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, if you love the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.